Welcome back to Esther Alexis, Body of an Extrovert. I am so super excited to say I've been waiting forever to record this video in a good way. To record the podcast with none other than CRILLUM, aka David Pierre Charles. Okay, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. I go by the name of CRILLUM, which is my producer name, alias, if you will. Born and raised in Bridgeport, Connecticut, Haitian descent, producer of many genres, hip-hop, R&B, house, dance, Afrobeat, whatever style of music. So yeah, I kind of do a little bit of everything.
So David's actually going to be... Do you like people referring to you as CRILLUM? Like, is that like the thing, or can I just call you David?
I guess in this case, it doesn't really matter. You can call me CRILLUM since I'm here because I'm CRILLUM, not because I'm David.
This is true. Okay. All right. So CRILLUM is actually going to be speaking to us today with the second part of our Dream Chasers series. And as y'all know, I am super, super passionate about this because I think it's awesome whenever someone is actually pursuing something that they are genuinely passionate about. So we're going to kind of talk not only about your passions or the things that influenced you, more so because right now, particularly in the music industry, there's kind of been like a shift of like people doing like EPs and not going like huge. And like, I guess there's kind of just a shift of how mainstream, I'm using my like infamous quotes that no one can see, is like being perceived nowadays, and how artists are kind of like reaching out to the platform. So I'm definitely interested to see how someone who is actually producing music actually goes about it and in what way. Okay, so my first question for you is why music and why now?
Music is kind of something that's a part of, I feel like, every human being that can hear pretty much life. So, it's always been something that's, you grow up around. Like the first person I remember hearing a lot in my household was like Michael Jackson, of course. And my parents used to play a lot of like French music, like old French music and gospel and whatnot. So like music is always gonna kind of be around growing up if your parents of a certain culture. But growing up, hip hop was. I grew up in the 90s. I was born in 91, so hip hop was like kind of really taking off. So that was like my first influence when it came to music was hip hop. Back when we had cassettes, like we had. Like Busta Rhymes and Biggie and whatnot on cassettes. So hip hop was pretty much my first influence, and also gospel music because I was really involved in church. So that's how I got interested in music, but I didn't start actually being involved in music until I got into high school when I started drumming at church and started learning how to play piano. So that's what got me like really involved in actually. I wasn't making music yet, but I was, involved in it, learning how to play, instruments. So that eventually transitioned into producing later in life in college. So, but that's pretty much how I got my start, was just listening to music and then eventually wanting to learn how to play. So
you didn't major in music though, right?
No, I didn't.
So what did you major in?
I majored in sport management.
So like... And that's my thing too. So would you have ever pursued a music degree though? Like knowing now that like, oh, you're trying to like produce music heavily and whatever, would you have gone back and been like, oh, like I would pursue a music degree?
Well, that was actually my goal, but my parents being, from the islands and growing up the way that they grew up, having to, fight for everything that they have today, they didn't really see music or pursuing a music degree as something that was lucrative or something that was serious. So I originally wanted to go to Berklee College of Music, but my parents didn't want me to go, so I ended up going to regular university, which was still a great experience. Like I would never like take that away. But I did sport management because sports was the other thing besides music that I was like really interested in. I used to play sports growing up, played baseball, played soccer. And then I was like really into like the other side of sports of like stats and analyzing. So I'm like, if I wasn't doing music, I'd probably be, working for like ESPN or something, or working for like a professional team. That's like my other, I say hobby or passion, but music kind of just took over, afterwards.
So then I like how you say that music took over afterward, and I appreciate your honesty in saying that a lot of the times your parents don't always support kind of like what they think is just not lucrative or will actually yield success in life. So then right now, like you have your degree, like you have a full-time job and everything, like you're good in life.
Part-time.
Part-time, full-time. I'm trying to hype you. Look at you.
It's a part-time job.
All right. So then would you say music is your other part-time job?
No, I would say music is my full-time job because there's really no cap on how long I've been working on music. Pretty much whatever time I have to work on music, I'll use it. So whether that's on the weekend or after my part-time job, like it's really endless. But a part-time job, like there's a cap to how much you can work. It's like 30 hours or less, you know.
All right.
But you know, just to keep myself afloat. But it's really just something that helps support or fund what I'm trying to do with the music, and it helps a lot. Like a lot of stuff that I have now, I wouldn't have been able to get if I didn't have that job.
So you're appreciative of it.
Yeah, definitely. And it's not anything that's too like mentally tasking. I went through that already where I had a full-time job and I was trying to do both and I couldn't do it. It was too much, so I quit. So that's why I have.
No, I appreciate your honesty. I think that
Yeah.
everyone's success story or everyone's grind looks very different from the person next to them. So I actually appreciate that.
Yeah.
Because I feel like a lot of the times we're hearing that, like I did it all. Like I had a full-time job, I had a baby mama on the side, I was
hell
producing
no.
music.
That was like the most miserable time of my life. Working 80 hours every 2 weeks or even more.
But I feel like when you pursue something that you're passionate about, particularly music, and since you're producing and everything, I feel like, and you also just said that there's no cap to how much time you be putting in music. So do you feel like when you're putting in all that extra time in music, you don't get exhausted, like you don't get tired?
Nah, not really, honestly. Because if you're doing something you love, you'll realize that the time really goes by like in a blink. Yeah, you could be working on something for 8 hours and didn't even realize that you just did a whole shift working on music, and it felt like you've been there for like 2 hours. So if it's something you love and never feel like work, it's always fun. It's always something enjoyable. It's kind of what your mind and your body craves. So it's never perceived. Your brain doesn't perceive it as work. You know, you're not clocking in. There's no boss telling you, "Oh, I need you to do this." You know, you don't have a manager. You're pretty much just doing your own thing. You're freely. So it's not the same at all.
Okay, so then that being said, is there a level of discipline that you have to have, though, in order to do that? Because I feel like, don't get me wrong, I love podcasting, I love writing and everything, but I feel like there are times where I have to sit down and be like, okay, this has to happen, or I have to structure something to, like, line up to fall the way that it should. Like, is that still, like, a level of discipline that you would need, though?
Yeah, I would say definitely. Obviously, when you're first starting out and you're just getting your foot in, just trying to learn how the craft, you know, that's not as important. But if you're interested, you'll naturally like find time to do it if there's something you enjoy. But when you reach a certain level, then the other part, the not so fun part, has to become a priority, where like scheduling your life out around your craft, making that the priority. So I do have to move things around sometimes. There's even times I have to take off of work because I've got an event to go to. So like that part is when you start to mature, you'll realize I got to treat this like it's a business. Although it is an art, it is like a passion. If you want it to be lucrative, you have to treat it as if it was a job. So you really gotta, like, every day you gotta set time aside to work on this. Then you have to schedule like, I'm working on this today, and this week I'm doing this. This week I'm making 10 beats, and next week I'm mixing all my stuff. I'm sending stuff out. I'm sending emails out. Going to this studio session. So it is a lot of work. But if you're passionate about it, it's never something that's like mentally draining. So don't think that it's just all fun and just making music. If you take it seriously, you have to treat it like a business, or else you'll find yourself in the same place, not moving anywhere.
Oh dang! No, that was legit. So then, question. So then, is your goal to then be a legit musician? Like, what is the goal then? Like the end goal for CRILLUM? Like, is it to be like DJ Khaled? Is it to be like Kanye producing? Like, what is like the goal for you?
I mean, I wouldn't compare myself to those guys because they have their own thing. They've already built their own legacy. my goal is to kind of be like, I gotta market myself like an artist. So I want to be that producer who people look at, like Pharrell, for example. Like, although he's a producer and been working with a lot of different artists, people look at him like an artist in a way because he is an artist. But I want to look at myself as an experience, more of like an experience rather than just a producer. Like, not saying I want my face plastered everywhere, but I want to be looked at as like, all right, he's a producer, but he's also an artist. He has his own sound. He has his own collection of projects, so not just like a beat maker per se. So, I see myself like an artist who makes the music in a way, So that's pretty much my goal. But obviously become rich off of it, like, I'm not
become rich?
Yeah.
What is, see, follow-up question, because I was going to ask that later on, but like, what is like enough for you in regards to like, how do you know that you've done enough in your passion and your pursuit? Like, yeah, you could make it to like that Pharrell status, like be an artist of your own and still be able to help and produce and stuff for others. But like, when is it enough? Like, when have you capped? Like, when has CRILLUM done his part? Like, influenced enough?
I feel like it's like a never-ending kind of pursuit, because once you like reach one, like say for example your goal is to like win a Grammy. Like, once you win a Grammy, your goal's gonna change because you already accomplished that. So I feel like it's constantly gonna keep changing. Like, originally I just wanted to like know how to make beats. That was my first goal. You know what I mean? That's like, but once you learn that, it's like, okay, what do I do next? So I feel like it'll always keep changing, and you'll always want more. But so you'll never know when you're done. But I feel like once you accomplish enough, I think that's when you start to venture off into like different things that that you wouldn't have done before, or never thought of doing. So like, eventually I want to get into like, I've been learning how to mix and master, obviously. So at one point, like, I might not want to make beats. I just want to like mix people's albums and master albums and do stuff like that. Or maybe I want to teach music production or teach, So I feel like once I've kind of found another venture that I want to, that's when I kind of feel like I'm more accomplished. But that's like way down the line.
Okay. So, question. Is there anything about the industry that scares you? Because I feel as though, quite frankly, and I make jokes of this all the time, but like, it's not to insult anyone. I'm always like, yo, like, there's so many SoundCloud rappers out there, like, but not everyone's making it. But so like, what do you think sets you apart, and is there something about the industry that scares you? Do you feel like you're a dime in a dozen, or do you feel like what makes you unique, or like what?
I would say, well, to answer your first question, I think what makes me different is kind of what I explained before, how I kind of market myself, where I'm not really just a beat maker. I kind of like if you listen to my music, like, it doesn't require anything, any kind of vocals or anything like that. It sounds like full music. It sounds like a song in itself. So it's kind of like the music kind of speaks to you even when there's no actual lyrics or words on the song, And I feel like being someone who like kind of bends genres and mixes around, like, I pretty much have music where it's like 3 or 4 different genres blended together. So I feel like that sets me apart from like the average producer, because in any craft there's going to be more people who are similar than those people who stand out. You know what I mean? So I feel like that kind of makes me stand out. But as far as like what makes me scared about there's nothing that really scares me about the industry. You just gotta make sure you're knowledgeable on the industry. So that's like networking with people who are in industry, learning about the business. If you're not prepared, then obviously you're gonna be scared if you go into it, blindly. So that's why I haven't really been like in a super rush to like be all up in the industry, because I want to learn the business and learn all those things before, I put my foot forward. So that's why I kind of step into it with like no fears, There's no, as long as you're prepared, there should be nothing you should be afraid about.
So then, question off of that. So you were saying that your music, like, it doesn't have words or anything. But I've actually listened to it. It's actually solid. Like, I put it on my Insta story and everything a few times.
Just solid?
It's dope. Dang, like, not even humble. Like, jeez.
Nah,
but
solid to me sounds like, you know.
It's all right.
Like, I just had this mac and cheese. It's solid. Like, it's solid like a 6 out of 10. You know?
No. When I say it's solid, I mean, like, a 7.5
Nah, I'm just
out of
messing
10.
with you.
No, actually. But, like, I think that when it comes to beats and everything, I think when it comes to any version or genre of music, there's intention behind it. And I feel like a lot of the times it's easier to decipher someone's intention with their music when it comes to lyrics. So what is the intention behind your music? Like, what is the goal? Is it to bring people together? Is it just to reveal different parts of, like, who you are as an individual? What is the intention behind your sound? Like, is there just, like, I know that you were saying that you mixed so many different genres, and that comes from your gospel background, your island background, the French background of the, you know, the colonization of Haiti and all that stuff. But, like, what does your sound, what is the intention of your sound?
I mean, it's probably a little bit of everything, but there's no social intention behind it, or like emotional intention. Obviously, there's going to be emotion because it's music, but when people hear it, I want people to feel like they're like on a trip in a way. So that's why if you listen to my music, there's like a lot of transitions. Sometimes it goes from one genre and changes into another one. There's like a lot of movement. So like when I'm making it, I want it to feel like you're on a roller coaster, right? And you're just going through all the different parts of the roller coaster. And like some parts is like real hyped up, and it's just like the energy is like super high, and it comes down. So it's like it kind of reflects just like kind of the human experience in a way, because like you'll never live a life, you know, just experiencing one thing. You'll have times where like you're happy, you have times where you're mellow, you have times when you're like depressed or whatever. So I want the music to feel like a trip when people listen to it. So it's like that's why it doesn't really require lyrics, because you're almost like going on an experience when you're just listening to music alone. So that's usually my intention. It's like I want to take this person on a trip, so where we're going with it. So that's pretty much my intention most of the time.
Okay, all right. What career accomplishment has made you most proud so far?
It's not really much of an accomplishment. It's more about recognition. There's this legendary producer who's like produced like for Hove on the Black Album. He produced for like Kanye, Devil. He produced Devil in a Red Dress. Am I saying this right? My fault.
I don't know.
I'm having a brain fart. He's produced like, he kind of crafted that like luxurious, like smooth hip hop sound that like you hear like in a lot of Rick Ross's music. His name is Bink. He's from Virginia. So like he's like a legend. And he happened to find me on IG one day, and I'm like, this can't be the real Bink. Like this got to be a fake page. And he shouted me out saying like, yo, you got some dope stuff. I'm just like, nah, that's fake, cuz. So I went on his profile, and
it was the real one.
That was the real Bink. And like anyone who's like, obviously like the average like consumer probably won't know who Bink is, but you definitely listen to like hundreds of songs that he's produced, and these are like classic records. And he shouted me out and said that my stuff is dope. So I'm just like, dang.
So clearly that's why my solid wasn't good enough.
Yeah,
I was like, it was solid.
Like,
he was like, yo, you
don't
with that
know.
Solid. Like,
so like, if a dude like Bink, you know, who a lot of producers look up to, like he one of the GOATs, could say like my stuff is dope, then that kind of just gave me reassurance, like, oh snap,
I'm on the right path and I'm doing it for real.
Yeah, so like, dang, if Bink notices, then like there's probably a lot of more eyes and ears that are probably keyed in that I haven't discovered yet, but you know it's coming soon.
That is so super dope.
Yeah.
This is not the same thing whatsoever, but one time I was on Twitter. It was when Twitter was still a thing.
It's still very much a thing.
You know what I mean? Like when I was on Twitter. Okay. So for me, it was a thing. Okay. And so I like added, you know who the actor Michael Ealy is?
Yes.
Like light-skinned black dude.
Uh-huh.
And he like retweeted me and like wrote back to me, and I kid you not, the world stood still for like 7 minutes solid. I like broke down and cried. Like, then I sat on my carpet and I rolled around. This is like legit. And then I picked myself up and I was like, yo, like, I'm so cool. Like, I'm so solid. Like, I don't need anyone to validate me anymore. Like, it's good. Like, I made it. It's all right. Mom, put the spoon down. We're going to go places. We're good. We're solid. But no, I'm actually like, that's dope. So then when it comes to accomplishments, is it more like you're just hoping that it hits the right people, or just that people kind of respond to it kind of a thing?
Just for it to more ears to hear it, like,
So exposure.
yeah, exposure, or just, I mean, obviously, like, seeing the fruits of what I'm making also is an accomplishment, like, seeing them checks come in,
Oh, so you get paid off this.
I mean, I'm not doing it just, obviously I'm not in it for money.
Yeah.
I've never been in it for money. Like, I don't make music for money. Mm-hmm. But when you see money starting to come in, it lets you know that whatever work that you put in, whatever formula that you've created for it to work, it's starting to work. And obviously there's still a lot more work to do. I'm nowhere near where I want to be with it, but it's good to see, like, all right, there's some fruits coming from the work that you're doing, coming from just making beats because you love it and not caring about that's my dog, B. Not caring about making money. And then when you start making a little money, you're just like, okay,
so you're seeing like the fruits of your labor.
Yeah, and you start seeing yourself more submerged into that role and that career, so it's always a good feeling.
So something that I've had as a reoccurring theme here with just different people on different topics is the topic of a support system. And you mentioned earlier how, like, you originally wanted to go for music, but you didn't. And that's okay. Because, you have more time in life. You're never really all that old. You know what I'm saying? You're still young. But, like, what does your support system look like now? Does it contribute to, like, how you move? Or is it more of a solo act for you?
My support system is, like, it's gotten bigger and bigger, obviously, over the years. When I first started making music in college, like, my friends were my biggest supporters. Even before I really even, like, obviously I didn't master the craft yet, but before I even got good, my friends been telling me, like, while we're at school, like, yo, bro, you should do this. Like, so, like, my first couple beats ever weren't even on my own laptop. Like, I have beats on my cousin's Mac. My first beat ever was on my cousin's Mac. I was using his GarageBand. And then when I got to school, I was making beats on my roommate's laptop and my other friend laptop. So, like, my first, like, pieces of music were on other people's devices that I was like, no, go ahead, use it. Like, you can make beats on my joint while they was asleep. Like, so those were, like, honestly, if that didn't happen, I don't even know if I would have continued to, because they gave me an outlet, when I didn't have one. I didn't have a laptop. So, like, those are, like, my first supporters. Like, F it, I'll give you what I got if you don't got it, just so you could make music. And this is before I even really got started. So, little by little, like, my friends always kind of motivate me, trying to key in on what I got going on. And then little by little, as I started getting a name out here, just random people honestly hit me all the time, like, normal people or other producers or artists, and just, like, repost everything that I put up, or, like, will hit me, be like, dog, yo, you one of my inspirations, things like that. So it's like, it's been getting bigger and bigger, like, as far as support goes. So
can I say, like, so I know David personally from, like, church, like, grew up kind of watching him play the drums kind of a thing. Can I say there was, like, an article, I think, that was written about you, like, it had your name, like, it shouted you out or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh my God, like, I'm a literary person. So if someone writes it down, like, if it's published by, like, a legitimate source, then I'm like, oh my God, like, and I'm not even kidding you. I shared that article so many times because, like, all my friends and me, like, read. Yeah. And then, like, ever since then, I was like, yo, y'all remember that article? This is the guy. Like, he's on Instagram now. Like, this is where his beats are. Word. But no, I think that's really cool.
Appreciate that, though.
No, it's totally, it's not even like to, like, be like, yo, I support you or anything. Oh, obviously I support you. But, like, I think that it's so dope that your support system could look in different ways too, like, you know what I mean? Because I feel like you're talking about people that, of course, nowadays everything's on social media that share stuff like that. But I remember when I was like, yo, y'all gotta read this article because they talking about him, and he's from Bridgeport, like, he gonna make it, like, y'all don't even know, like, he about to rep everything out here, he about to rep everything all the struggle stand for. Like, But no, I think it's super dope. So what do you? So here's a real question though, because we've had people who were like, I don't have a support system. Like I've had to navigate things myself. What do you say to the up and coming musician who doesn't have that big of a support system?
I mean, it'll eventually come. As long as you keep working, like worry about learning your craft first and like kind of setting yourself up, and eventually you'll find people who are kind of like on the same frequency as you, and then you're kind of just they'll come along. You don't have to really force it. The people that I have like supporting me currently, like I have a collective I'm part of called OTS. It's a collection of artists, and like we do a whole bunch of stuff. Like I kind of met these guys in passing. Like I didn't grow up with any of these guys. They're just people that I met as I was like making music, and they heard, and we had like similar interests. And now these are like pretty much the guys that I roll with. So as long as you keep working, the right energy or the people on the same frequency will eventually kind of attract to you. That's what music really does, honestly. Like it brings people to you that you would have otherwise never met. So if you don't worry about having a support system, or like don't feel bad where you don't have people supporting you, if you're working and you doing something that people respect, people are going to be standing in line like to want to support you, honestly. So like don't make that a priority. Just worry about getting better at what you do. Worry about working on it every day, and then all that other stuff you'll have to be choosing like who you want to support you, because you'll have people
like not you. No, I want you, not the person that helped produce Kanye. I want that person.
Yeah, because like you can't even really blame people, because people are not gonna just support things that they don't believe in yet. Mm-hmm. They have to believe in you first to want to support you. So if you just starting out and you don't really have like a track record, or you don't have any type of you don't have nothing to back you, you can't be mad that people won't support you. Like you can't be mad that your friends or your family won't support you, but that just kind of comes with the territory. Everyone's not going to have the same vision that you have. Everyone doesn't see music in the way that you might see it, because so many people want to do music. So like some people are realistic, so it may feel bad, but eventually if you keep working, you'll find supporters. It may not even be your friends that you grew up with.
That is a word. Like I think that every time like not to even say that I've made it to a particular level, but like I think that when it comes to this podcast, even what I've learned with just different people in general, is that your support system or people that first support you are never the people that you think will be like the ones to hop on first. Yeah. And that's not like a negative thing. I think that I've actually had to spin it in that way. Like people are just realistic. Like you say something and people are just like, all right, well everybody says that. Like prove it. Put your money where your mouth is, kind of a thing. And I think that that's when things start lining up. I think that that's a lesson that's a humbling lesson though.
Yeah, it is. Like, but I was lucky enough to have people to support me like before I even really got started.
When it was still a hobby.
Yeah, it was a hobby I was doing like in between studying for exams and doing homework and going to class. But I got lucky, but everyone's not that lucky. But it will come eventually. Like don't take it to heart. Don't make it stop you saying like no one supports me, I don't want to do this anymore. Like no, that's the punk way to go out, man. Just do work. That's it. Like that's really what it comes down to. Do work. Support yourself first. Then all the other stuff will come.
All right. So, what do you think, or what's the most interesting thing that you've learned about yourself doing this?
I've learned that if it's something that I really want, it's almost like my DNA's been altered. Like it becomes like almost like a sickening obsession with wanting to make music and wanting to be a certain place. Like there's probably like a total of 5 minutes in the day that I'm not thinking about something like music wise. So it kind of like took over my whole entire life. It took over the way that I think. It took over, so it just shows me like if it's something that I love and it's something I'm passionate about, that pretty much is like do or die almost. Like so it kind of showed me like a level of ambition in myself that I never thought I would ever have for anything else. Because like while I was in school growing up, like no one really loves school, but you have to go. So I'm kind of like just going through the motions in my life, not really having like a specific purpose. But once I found a purpose, it's like it's just a whole nother level like of ambition that you didn't know that you can get to. Sometimes I'm like sick about something, like, God damn, like what's wrong with you? Like you don't want to do nothing else? Like if it was up to me, I would legit do this all day, every day, not go out. I don't really go out much, so it's like I look at myself like I'm like completely submerged in it. So it's kind of crazy looking from the outside.
That's actually mega dope.
Yeah.
Like I think that people often that's a bad thing. But I feel you. Like podcasting and like books are the only thing that I do aside from talking, obviously. But that comes with the podcasting.
Yeah.
And I would.
My fault. Don't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good.
Don't make that stop you from getting out.
No, I know. I like have to force myself out, like, cause I'll be at home like I'm really okay. Like this book right here, this chapter I'm writing right here, this podcast right, I'm good. Like I'm good. I'm where I'm supposed to be. And then I'm like, I should probably interact socially with people as well.
Yeah, cause I learned that later. Like I thought that the way to make it was to put in as many hours and just like stay in the studio and just like work, which is cool, but I didn't start really like progressing until like I started going out and going to events and like meeting people and networking and finding people who can help me or people I can help. So like that's what I'm focused on more now. I'm rarely home anymore. I'm literally like from this studio working with this person, just like even stuff that's not like pertaining to music. Like I'll go to events learning about marketing, digital marketing, something like that, just so I can pick up some gems or even meet some people that I've met people that styled for NBA players, and I've met people who do the video for this super popular podcast. I'm not gonna put names out, but like if staying in your room, it won't help you. You'll get to a certain level, but that won't help you expand. Because if nobody knows who you are, it doesn't really matter how good you are at what you do. You gotta like kind of spread it around. So that's one thing. Like although you want to like stay in the house and work on this because that's what you like to do, like get out and like touch some people, get some phone numbers, like get Instagrams, get cards, whatever it is. Like you got to get out.
Okay, so then here's another question. When it comes to pursuing passions and living actual life, what is working for you right now in regards to like keeping schedules or like making those plans? Or like, because you were saying earlier, like sometimes I call out of work and sometimes it's whatever, but like at the end of the day, there are still bills to pay. Like, you know what I'm saying? There are still like things to get done. So what works for you in regards to like keeping a schedule and like having that kind of work-life balance, if you will?
I mean, you just kind of make a priority list. So whatever you have on top of your priority list, everything else kind of just goes around that. So for me, obviously music is my passion, but my priority is always my health, right? So I got to make sure I hit the gym and get my mind right before I do anything. So that's always number one. That always comes first. I'll bench you 3 times over.
Yeah, okay.
Health is always first, so that kind of like always like clears my mind. Make sure my energy, my chakras is right or whatever. So you prioritize things and then you work around it. So I schedule my life like someone who's working for like, I don't know, whatever you do, how you schedule it. You have a list of things that you got to do and you make sure you get it done. And everything else kind of comes after. So having fun and going out is cool, but that always comes after. So I don't really have things that get in the way, which makes it easier for me to kind of prioritize and get things done. So it's like treat it, like I said before, treat it like a business, then that's how it's going to run, like a well-oiled machine. So that's kind of how I go about it. Like, I make sure I got my priorities correct and I just go accordingly.
All right, so one of my last questions is, so say that there's a musician, an up-and-coming musician listening to this right now. What would be their first step? Like, what was your first step?
See, that's kind of like a hard question because it's like different for everybody. But my first step was literally just trying it. Like, that was it. Literally, one day I just woke up. I'm like, yo, I'm going to start trying to make beats because I like beats. I know music, so I feel like maybe I'll be good at it. That's literally how it started. It wasn't no long built up, like, thing I want to. It hadn't been years that I was trying to make beats. It literally took me like a day to decide to start making
That's
beats.
actually a blessing. Like, you don't even know. That takes, like, it takes forever, I feel like, for some people to get started on things.
Yeah, so first, like, don't be scared. Just try it. It's never gonna hurt you. Like, I know people sometimes hesitate because they feel like they don't want people laughing at them. They don't want nobody saying, "Oh, you're trying to be a rapper or you're trying to be a producer." Forget all that. Just try it. Second, I would say is devote time to it because there's nothing that you can't get good at anything if you don't devote time to it. So yeah, if you have to like forego going here or forego playing video games or whatever it is that you spend a lot of time doing, sacrifice some of that time and put in work, put in your hours, so you can get to a level where you can like kind of expand and like meet people from it. I'm not saying you have to be goddamn Kanye to make something from yourself from it. You don't. You pretty much got to be good enough and then meet people and get yourself in the right position. So I would say definitely devote a lot of time to it. And then 3, just like any kind of field, like just network. That's the best thing I learned in college was how to network. Going to events where you gotta meet people who may not even look like you and strike a conversation with a random person that you ain't never seen in your life who about 2 times older than you. Like that's uncomfortable for a lot of people because we're not used to doing that, especially coming from where I come from. Like, I've never been to an event where I got to network with people who work here and work. I had to figure it out. So that's one thing I'm grateful for going to. It taught me how to be comfortable talking to people who may be in a more powerful position or a better position than I am in, or just have more knowledge than me, Like, I could walk into a room full of randoms and, like, talk to anybody. Like, I don't care. Like, even being a shy person as growing up, now, like, I don't care who you are. Like, I'll walk up to you, shake your hand, ask you questions. Like, it doesn't really make a difference. So that part of it is where most musicians, I feel like, lack is that part of it, honestly. There's a lot of talented musicians and rappers and singers, but a lot of them lack in the networking aspect. Like, you might meet your future manager somewhere, like, or you might meet the person that's going to shoot your videos from now on at one of these events or whatever. So that's one thing to say, like, once you learn your craft, like, bring it out and you touch people. So yeah, that's the 3 main things. And obviously there's so much more, but you figure that as you go on. That's another thing. Like, don't get so stressed about not knowing everything. Obviously try to learn as much as you can, but you will legit figure it out naturally. Like, you don't even know how you got here, but you will legit figure it out. Like, that's how it is. Music kind of takes you, it's kind of like, it just takes you there,
That's cool. So then, another question.
I thought that was the last question.
I thought it was one of my last questions. What is a mistake that you made coming up that you feel, or what's something that you would tell someone to do differently than what you had done?
Honestly, I don't think there's anything, like, I don't think mistakes really exist, like, when it comes to, like, a passion, because honestly, if you don't make mistakes, then you'll never figure out, like, what is the wrong or right thing to do. You know what I mean? So, like, those are necessary, honestly. No one's gonna get into an industry and not have made some type of mistakes. Like, that's almost like required. Some mistakes are bigger than others, obviously. Like, some people make mistakes where they gotta hit something on the radio and they're not getting sent from it. That's a mistake I wouldn't suggest you make. But along the way, you'll make mistakes. But I would say the first mistake I made was, like, when I first started, like, really making music. I didn't really, like, tell anybody, or I didn't really, like, showcase my talent. Like, I knew I was talented. People that I was close to told me I was talented, but I was just so self-conscious about, like, damn, like, what if I post this and, like, people hear it, like, it's trash. So, even though I knew it wasn't trash, but it was, like, being new and not ever, like, posting, like, the first time I ever posted, like, a beat on SoundCloud, it took me, like, a whole week to decide to post it, and I kept going back and forth and changing shit, and, like, I was just so self-conscious about it because I never showed anybody outside of my circle of friends anything that I was doing. So
because maybe it was intimate to you, like
it was, but like you don't make music to listen to yourself, you know. So that's one mistake I made was like the first 2 or 3 years that I was making music, like I didn't show anybody, you know. So I didn't get that feedback that I needed to get. So I was just kind of like in my own world. So I would have done that differently, but it's kind of comes with the territory. Like, that's things you learn. So, like, one mistake you shouldn't make is to be afraid of making mistakes. Like, you know, because that way you won't shell yourself from reaching a certain level. So, like, don't be afraid of making mistakes. That's just part of it.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Here's my actual last question. And this question has more context and backstory. So, I'm sure that you're aware of the whole Kanye and gospel situation going on. What's your take on that? Let me ask that first. As someone who also grew up in church, as someone who's also a musician who uses different genres, what's your opinion on that?
I mean, I don't really have a real opinion. Like, honestly, like only people that know Kanye's true intentions is him and God. Like, you know, so I can't really judge or call it. Like, does it make me raise an eyebrow that, you know, he went from
call me Jesus?
Yeah, like, but that's just kind of the human experience. People change. People, you know, find different things that they're passionate about, and maybe God is that's what he's on right now. You know what I mean? I wouldn't know, so I don't really have an opinion. Am I mad at people who don't want to support him because of his affiliations? No. I'm not mad at that. If you decide that, I ain't rocking with Kanye, he wearing a MAGA hat or whatever, I wasn't rocking with that. If you decide not to support him because of it, then that's your business. If you decide you want to listen to Kanye's music because you feel like, you know what, he's talking about God and it's making me feel good, it's making me feel empowered, it's making me want to go to church, then it's benefiting you in some way. So cool, go listen to Kanye. So it's not really up to me to judge. You know, so I'm kind of like, I'm not gonna say I'm in the middle. I'm kind of like on the outside, like cool, like
do you,
you know what I mean? It's not hurting me none. You feel me?
But then that leads, I think, to a greater question when it comes to just art and expression in general, because your art is your expression. Is there such a thing as separating the art from the artist?
It depends. I feel like when you reach a certain level in music, they almost become like one. So I feel like at a certain point, there's like some messages and like part of that person in every song that they put out. You know what I mean? Like, for example, R. Kelly, for example, right?
Yeah, I knew somebody was gonna go there. I'm like, let me not be the one to drop it, but
you could say all you want, like, separate the art from the person.
But his art is.
But if you really sit there and listen, now more because of the
situation,
you'll see that part of the person that he is now. You can like see it and hear it in his music. So it's very hard to separate it because the artists they get their material from their actual life. You know what I mean? So it's stamped onto the music even if you don't want to believe it. So a situation like that, I feel like, you know, I'm not separating the art from the music. I've heard songs, I see what the hell that nigga was talking about now. So I'm not separating nothing. So I'm not listening to Step in the Name of Love. I'm not listening to Your Body's Calling, because I know what Your Body Calling is talking about. Or,
heard you.
You feel me?
Yeah.
But that's an extreme case, obviously. But I feel like it depends on like what the person did Like, if you don't agree with someone's political affiliations, but you want to listen to their music, then I feel like there's no issue with that. If someone was a pedophile, I'm sorry, like, their music gotta go with them. Like, you feel me? That's a different
lock it
level.
up with it. Yeah, like
that's a different level for me, you know. So, anybody who listens to R. Kelly, I don't care. You trash.
Thank you.
You know what I mean?
Thank you so much.
That's just how I feel about it.
That's not how we feel about it here, right? Esther, Alexis, JK.
No,
Actually, I agree. I'm not. But I think that's a serious topic to have nowadays because that was an extreme. But the fact of the matter is, we live in a world where it's not black and white. There are extremes, and there are the other side of extremes, which are not extreme. Yeah. So I feel like when it comes to separating the art from the artist, like, it's become harder to do, but it's also become necessary in some places. Yeah. Like, I don't know. I think that there are a lot of people, specifically when it comes to the R. Kelly situation, that are like, yo, he did so much for the culture. Like, he did so much, now it's like a part of traditions. Like, you go to weddings and stuff in the name of love. Like, you know what I'm saying? Right. So it's like, but you're like, oh, it's cool. Like, I'm not going to miss it at the family barbecue. I'm not going to miss it at the wedding.
It's not going to kill nobody that you don't hear stuff in the name of love no more. Like R. Kelly obviously is a legendary artist, and a lot of his music is like a staple in our culture or community. But if you were to take away his music, there's other songs that will replace Step in the Name of Love. Like, there's so much good music and so much like classic music that's been made by our people that you remove R. Kelly, like no one gonna die. Like, you'll be just fine. Like, no one was sitting there bumping R. Kelly in 2019, 18 like that anyways. So if you gotta stop playing the 3 or 4 songs that you still play from R. Kelly, then who cares? You don't gotta play Bump and Grind. Go listen to freaking I don't know, Knocking the Boots instead. It's same shit. Like, like, it don't make a difference. So I feel like people need to, especially adults who grew up in that era, they need to set the example. Like, these kids know about R. Kelly for what we know about R. Kelly now. So they see that you still listen to him in the household, and they're gonna think that's okay. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's more destructive to me than, like I said, like a Kanye, where it's more about his political affiliations, why people are kind of on the fence. Like, you know what I mean? That right there is way more destructive in my opinion. So, like I said, I'm not mad at anybody who doesn't want. I'm not a Kanye stan or fan. Like, I listened to his album and I left it just like that. So I'm not really fooling the whole MAGA hat thing. But those to me are two different situations where it's like a crime was committed for years and someone is going through transitions, whatever.
I heard you. So then lastly, just because I feel like you brought it up.
Come on, cuz, you said that was the last question, man. No, I'm playing.
But because I feel like you brought it up in your last your thing, and you mentioned it previous too when you talk about your roots and how you bring your genres and stuff together. I think that one of the biggest things that we see, particularly in any persons of color's community, is that when they make it, when they go out there, the first thing, I'm not gonna hold you. If you get to that Pharrell status, the first thing I'm about to do is throw the Haitian flag out there and you start walking around like, did y'all see this today? Did y'all see this morning?
Yeah.
So do you feel any pressure as an artist to kind of carry the community, like whether it's the Haitian community or just the African American community, on your back? And do you feel like that you have to cater to that sometimes?
It's not really pressure, like, because it's who I am, so it's always been something I've been proud of. So like I willingly put stuff like that in my music because that's where I'm from. Like, no matter where I'm at, I always tell people that I'm from Bridgeport, even though that comes with a stigma in a way. I'm never shy about telling people where I'm from. So like, I have like some projects coming up where that's kind of displayed. Where I'm from and also my culture, my Haitian culture. So it's never pressure. That's something I've always wanted to do because I've always been proud of, where I'm from, my people, even like the city that I grew up in, even though it may not be the best city, but that's where I grew up. So it's never pressure. That's always something that's going to be part of me because that's what sets me apart. Like, all right, he's a producer, or he's Haitian and he's from Connecticut. That's different. Like, so never pressure. That's just something I always kind of wanted to do. I'm always repping. You know what I mean?
It's an honor, it's a privilege, and a responsibility in a sense.
I mean, I would say I wouldn't call it responsibility because if someone doesn't want to champion where they're from or their culture, you know, it's really up to the person. You know,
True.
You can't really be upset about it. You know, is it helpful that someone who's at a certain level kind of shine a light on where they're from and their culture? Yes, but honestly, there's a lot of people who've made it who kind of like shy away from that for whatever their reason is.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't even call it responsibility. Is it responsible? I wouldn't want to use that word, you know. But it's a good thing to do? Yeah. So that's where I'm at with it. Where I don't feel like responsible. It's my responsibility, but it's just something that I want to do, you know.
Heard you. All right. Well, CRILLUM, thank you so much for joining us today on the second part of the Dream Chaser series. We are going to be dropping CRILLUM's handle along with his music. I assure you it is dope. Y'all know that I don't champion anything that I don't genuinely believe in, specifically the SoundCloud rappers and such. But
I'm
no,
not really on. I'm not
I
really on SoundCloud
know.
like that,
It's like a stigma
left on
thing.
there, but yeah.
No, but it's dope. It's dope. And I think that what you're doing is really awesome and it's inspiring. And I hope that that people were just, I don't know, moved in a different way today. I hope that someone got something from it. I know that I did. And we appreciate you coming out. I hope that y'all go out and y'all listen to his music and spread the word. Recognition and exposure is always the best thing for anyone doing anything. So thank you again for coming. Any last words?
I would say thank you for having me here. I know it's been like a long time coming. Took a while.
It took a while, but it was good. It was good.
I hope people kind of get something from it and, you know, go look at the music.
We hope that when you make it big, you know, you continue to champion whoever you champion and doing it.
Zoe for life, you know.
Facts. Yo, for real, for real.
203.
So we wish you the best. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for joining us on Esther Alexis Body of an Extrovert. We will see you next time.